and welcome to This Week in Metropolis. The transmission will begin shortly.
King P here,
And Studio 7.
and welcome to another surprise edition of This Week in Metropolis.
Well, you say another surprise.
Well, it's a surprise to us.
It is a surprise because we're back. It's been a while. A lot's happened.
I looked when I set this one up, or we got on Skype ready to record it. Last call, I believe, was September 2019.
Yeah.
So not quite done a year, but it's
I mean, that's not to say we haven't spoken since then, but because then we would have this would be a bumper episode.
Yes.
But you know, let's try. Let's not make it too long a wait until the next episode. Hopefully.
Exactly. In 2021, this is going to be a really good episode that we can put together for everyone.
But 2020 is mad when you think about it, with the situation we're in now.
Exactly.
We're in our, 12th, 13th? I don't even know what week it is now of lockdown in the UK.
I have no idea whatsoever. Which, yeah, that's it. And as we've been working from home, we've literally, not left the house in certain circumstances. But yeah, crazy to be in the situation we are. When we did our last episode, I don't think we would ever have imagined, coronavirus and so on to come. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, I've had a kid, so
there we go.
One. So a lot's changed. But we're not here to talk about all the kind of world events from a political standpoint, or from the positive movements that are going on in and around the world at the moment. Because it is fantastic, but there's enough of that on display for everyone to see. What we're here to talk about, Matt, is the finer details of what's going on in our worlds.
In our worlds and brains.
In our bubbles.
At this moment.
Yeah.
One thing I've seen, though, which does link, but not all of our things link nicely, but from a coronavirus or sort of, I think one of the things that it's changed a lot, we work from home, video calls, all of that stuff has become the norm. Whereas before you would have got a lot of people that had made a video call or conferences and all this sort of stuff. And it does seem to have changed a lot of things like that. Not video call related, but Walmart, huge supermarket chain, have announced that they are, which really I think is a direct result of the social distancing and so on, has announced they're looking to remove all cashiers from its stores. So there won't be any people on the tills serving you. It will literally be self-service.
But is this a bit like Amazon are doing something like that, aren't they? Where the kind of supermarket where you just go in, pick up your stuff, and it scans it, and then debits it from your account or something like that.
Amazon takes it to the next level. I mean, Walmart are proposing they're still going to have the
self-checkouts,
till points where you scan your stuff and things. Amazon's one that they're trialing. Literally, you go to a shelf, take an item off, put it in your bag, but the cameras in the store recognise that product that you've taken, know who you are, and it adds it to your bill automatically. Yeah. So it's completely hands off. So you just go in, steal everything, and come out. And that's it to the bill.
Oh. Well, that is topical. But I'm guessing there's some sort of there must be some sort of staff where if you don't scan something, maybe, or have you got to scan it with your phone as you're going around the shop? I haven't read too much into it, to be honest with you.
For which one? The Walmart one?
For the Amazon one, I was thinking.
Amazon one, it's just cameras. Literally, I can't remember whether they recognise your face as you come in, but there's some way that they know it's your accountability. But the AI system they've got recognises the items you're putting in your bag. and it can do it for multiple people at once, so it knows what you're doing.
That is next level.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane.
The Walmart one, I kind of see that. I mean, they're going to have some sort of staff with regards to like stocking the shelves and things like that still, but getting rid of the tills. I mean, I always tend to go, even when I do a huge shop, I'll try and, because I mean, a lot of big supermarkets in the UK now have got the scanners on the conveyor belt tills as well now. So although you've got the basket ones, you've got both, and there's just something. I feel like I'm being pressured when you go into like a manned or a woman till, where I mean, especially in some of the supermarkets, the more cost-effective ones where they are targeted on getting you in and out of the shop as quickly as possible. There's just that instant panic of, oh my God, I'm trying to get all this in my bag. Like,
and the fact they don't give you any sort of space to do it as well.
Yeah, exactly.
3 inches of checkout in which to take your shopping.
Yeah.
Well, this is they're doing they're trialing in one store, and they're going to test to see if checkout times are reduced when human interaction is limited. So they're thinking the opposite. You know, that sort of removing the pressure will actually speed people up, and they will still have employees on hand if they have any issues as such. But yeah, if it works out well for them, they're going to roll it out to other stores. So it is.
Well, and again, you're mentioning you're tying that in with the current pandemic across the world, and it does make sense to, you know, you're having less interaction then, I guess.
Yeah, that's it. Crazy stuff. But it also they've launched. I've not read about this in the article. It does say that they have also launched a touch-free payment system in response to the pandemic as well. So I guess could that just be contactless? Is it the Americans haven't got contactless yet?
I mean, it'd be bizarre if they haven't and we have, but
yeah.
Interesting. I mean, isn't it mad, really, when you think about the amount of things from a technological standpoint. Technological standpoint.
Technological is what you're searching
I mean,
for
that's
there.
where I was getting to there. From that standpoint, and what's gone on during the whole lockdown period, we've had the first commercial flight into space.
Yeah.
Which obviously through SpaceX. I know you didn't watch it live because we spoke about it. I mean, I did, and I thought it was incredible just to witness that and to be. I mean, I know you've seen bits of it since, haven't you?
Yeah, the only reason I didn't watch it live, I watched the first attempt right up to the point when they called it off, and then completely forgot when they redid it. So I didn't see it live. Yeah,
I didn't even know it was happening. That shows you how kind of unattached from it all I was. But I was told about it. It was happening like 5 minutes before. Quickly got online to watch it. It was incredible, and to be able to see it and be inside the ship and all that, the different camera angles you've got where it was filming it from, and seeing all the parts, like even 24 hours later, I was watching when it was, connecting up with the space station. It's just incredible, really. Like
the quality of the cameras they have now compared to, when you see obviously it's a very long while ago now, but when you see in 1969 the moon landings and stuff like that, and you've got this grainy little black and white thing, whereas now you can go on YouTube and watch it in 4K. Them out there in space,
3D,
amazing, absolutely amazing.
It's incredible. So we've had that. I mean, that was mad, because who knows where that's going to lead to now with potential passenger flights up there when we start colonising the rest of the universe.
Well, I think isn't SpaceX's priority now on, I can't remember the name of the rocket, but it's the one that he plans to use for flying within the planet. So you could, I can't remember the name of the thing.
Oh, what? So doing like if I was flying to Australia?
Yeah, you could do it in an hour or something ridiculous like that. It is that sort
in
of thing.
In an hour. God, I
honestly,
could just about get to London in an hour now.
it's
Imagine that.
yeah.
I bet it cost you an absolute bomb, though.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it would, but it's insane, isn't it? That sort of thing that you would imagine. Oh yeah, I'm going to Australia.
Just popping out.
See you in a couple of hours. Yeah.
I need something from Australia. I'm just going to pop up the road,
Yeah.
jump in my rocket ship. Yeah. No, I mean it is. I mean the whole prospect and idea that we could be, 10 years away from maybe 10 years is a bit optimistic, but I don't think it'd be that long. Maybe 20, 25 years from people actually going on trips to space.
Yeah.
More frequently.
That's it. It would just be a commutable thing.
Yeah. Just like a sightseeing trip. Oh, where are you going? Oh, just out of space. But that particular rocket that flew, was that the Falcon something, or have I mixed that up with something?
Yeah, I believe so. Falcon Heavy.
Something. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I mean that was like that particular ship had already done over 100 flights.
Yeah,
I mean that's incredible.
Amazing, isn't it? Yeah,
incredible. When you think about the ones like you said from the 60s or whatever,
which were disposable. Literally, they would treat them as disposable things. They'd just end up in the sea somewhere.
Yeah. And now, I mean, the only suspicious thing about that one, and we spoke about it, was the landing back onto the whatever it is out at sea.
It's like an aircraft carrier thing,
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
it?
yeah. Where the camera dropped out just before it landed, and then it suddenly appeared.
Oh, and it's arrived.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, we just lost connection there. Yeah. And they wonder why there were so many suspicious kind of talks about the landing.
Theories,
on the moon.
Well, I actually got that slightly wrong. It's in a letter to SpaceX employees over the weekend. The ambitious entrepreneur said his rocket company's focus is now Starship, the prototype phase spacecraft that's supposed to fly up to 100 humans at a time to Mars, when paired with SpaceX's upcoming Super Heavy rocket booster. There you go. We need to accelerate Starship progress dramatically and immediately. Yeah.
I guess the question is, Matt, would you be interested in going?
Yeah, definitely. I think that imagine being not. I don't think I would
Go on the
sign
first
myself
flight.
up to go to Mars and live in Mars, because it's just like having seen Total Recall, and it's like the off-world colonies. That's the thing that puts me off. But the thought of going into space and looking down at Earth, I think that's something that would change you forever. Just that humbling experience of that.
Yeah. Do you know what? The second after I watched that, the SpaceX rocket launch into space, I had to go back and watch the guy who done the Red Bull, the highest jump thing, the free fall.
Yeah, that's insane.
Wasn't he a German? He was a German guy, wasn't he? I think, or Austrian.
So,
yeah. I had to go and watch that again because that in itself was incredible, and I forgot. I think we might have even been in the office at the time when that happened.
I think so, yeah.
But I had to go and watch it, and just like the bit where he kind of lost control and he started free falling, and he was free falling in a way, but he lost control and he just started kind of tumble rolling, but at like ridiculous speeds. And then I watched the press conference afterwards just to kind of understand what it was like for him, and he said like there was times where he just didn't know up from down and couldn't work out because they'd planned kind of what to expect and going at the speed that he was, and there were times. Go on.
As I say, apparently he flew approximately 39 kilometers from the stratosphere, and he reached speeds up to 843 miles an hour.
That's a little bit fast.
Especially like in a spacesuit.
Yeah, because one of the questions he was asked afterwards was, what was it like flying at the speed of light or sound? It's sound, wouldn't it?
Yeah, because speed lights off like that, isn't it?
There.
Yes, but he broke the sound barrier on his descent. So yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. The first human to do so without any form of engine power.
Yeah. Incredible. Well, what else have we had? Well, obviously, recently we had, a couple of weeks ago, wasn't it? Or 2 or 3 weeks ago, we had going into more tech that's been revealed. We've had the X series, X new Xbox, and last week we had PS5.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
The funny things about these, I completely get where they're coming from with it, just because it's a big advancement on previous consoles, and someone's plugging something in their telly, they're getting a huge advance in terms of the specs and so on. But a lot of the technology, they're getting really excited. Like when they advertise the things and say, "Oh, it's amazing. We can do, for like 120 FPS in 4K, or you can do. They've got a solid state drive in them. Like how exciting! They're things that computers have had for years. So it's now the point. Whereas before you'd have a console and you think, "Wow, that is the future. Look what that can do." It's now almost that the console is catching up with everything else to a certain extent, or it's making it more accessible to the consumer. Not everyone wants to fill around and build a computer because it's you just want to play games. Why do you want to get under the hood of it? It's bringing that level of technology to the masses and just making it very easy for them to plug in. The thing that excites me the most, which is something I'm quite passionate about with gaming, I think is such an advancement in gaming, is being an Xbox fan as well. Reading an interview of a guy who's on the Xbox team in Microsoft, he was talking about how their plan now is to make it as cross-platform as possible. Like they can see that the future is not everyone wants to sit in front of a telly and play a game. Someone might want to pick up a phone and play the game. They may want to sit in their laptop. They may want to, do it on their PC, whatever it may be. And just having that thing set up now so that you can. And it's not an issue anymore. And it's they've done it a little bit with, it's a Game Pass Ultimate, I think it is, where you get 3 games for a monthly subscription on the console. You can then, if you've got a computer as a PC, you can log in and play those same games. So there's that certain element of that. So they're planning on pushing that forward even more in this next generation, which is something that I've probably spoken about previously in the podcast, that Fortnite do already. You can have your account. You can play a game on the PC. You can play a game on your phone. You can play a game on Nintendo. You can play a game on PS4. Doesn't matter. You can play with all your friends, wherever they are. It's completely cross-platform. All your stuff there, all your achievements, everything. It just doesn't matter how you do it, and I think that's incredible.
And I think that should apply. I think if you have a game, for example, one that I always play, and I think, why can't something like FIFA be cross-platform when it's the same game? It's just across different servers. You and I have played Rocket League with a friend of ours, well, Mark, who was on the show last time, many moons ago, and we were all playing it on different platforms.
Yeah, exactly.
But yet we were on the same team playing. So why a game? I understand exclusives. If there's a multiplayer feature on that, I understand you're not going to be able to do that if it's just on one console. But the games that are cross-platform, the games that are across all the different consoles, why can't they do that?
Exactly. From my understanding, a lot of it is to do with the actual manufacturers themselves, particularly Sony, because I think it was. Can't remember whether it was Rocket League or Fortnite, but for a long while, I think it may have been Rocket League. For a long while, you could play PC to PS4 and vice versa, you could play Xbox to PC and vice versa, but you couldn't join the two because Sony wouldn't do it. Like Sony didn't want to play between Xbox and PS4 for whatever reason, which just seems a bit silly. You know, not everyone's going to want the same console, and so on, are they? Or they've invested a lot of time in it.
Yeah, exactly. Going back to what you were saying about the actual quality that the consoles, I mean, like you said, I mean, from the first console I had, which was the original Nintendo, going up, it was all, you were always doubling, weren't you? I think it was up to the 16-bit, and then 32 was the PlayStation, then we got the N64, that series.
Yeah.
So you was always going up. I mean, I haven't looked at the specs for either of these consoles, but just watching some of the trailers for the new games, I mean, yeah, they look incredible. But I mean, I've watched the trailer for The Last of Us, which is, or part 2, The Last of Us, which is coming out within the next week or two. I think so. Yeah. And you know, that still looks incredible on a PS4. So, I mean, from conversations I've had with other people, what they've told me is that the difference that you'll see now as the newer consoles come out, they can't really do that much more with regards to the picture. What they can do is make better use of the lighting and things like that on games, and the sound quality and things like that. So that's where they'll one of the biggest features is the loading times and things. You're going to have less dropout times where it's trying to load up to the next thing. I mean, I want to say that either Xbox said it, I'm sure PlayStation are going to do it as well, where you can literally stop one game, go on to another if you're on the digital side, so it's a downloaded game, and literally just click on another game and you'll be straight up where you was last. I mean, that would be incredible. I switched on the Last of Us the other night, and it took ages to load up to where I was at on it.
But it's basically because you've got how old are they now? 5 years?
Yeah, probably about that. Yeah.
Is, you know, you're using 5-year-old technology. It is the thing. And that's it. It is the case of the newer consoles. They don't necessarily give you better visuals, but they give you more realistic visuals. Is the difference with things like ray tracing, which they're adding to it. Is basically it's like Hollywood style effects. You can have, if you're standing there and you're a character and you're next to a window, you'll be able to see an actual reflection of an opponent in the window. Or if you've got it will render the surfaces. If you've got a shiny surface, it will show you the clouds reflecting in it. Or, you know, if you've got a wooden surface, that will be lit differently because of it. It's those little subtleties that you're probably not going to notice.
Yeah.
Actually, and again, it depends what sort of TV you got as well to appreciate a lot of these things. It's only in the new TVs like the one you've got probably that will show things to their full sort of glory as such.
Do you also think? I mean, a lot of games now. I mean, you mentioned Fortnite there, which I know is a more colourful, animated. I mean, the graphics are still great on it, but it's more of a cartoonish style game. I mean, recently the last game I got was Streets of Rage 4, which is a kind of updated version, but it's still so many nods to the classic, the originals. The animations in it are fantastic, but it's not one that you're looking at to go, wow, these graphics are incredible.
No, exactly.
Do you think there's, I mean, it's almost like some people like that. So the reason I got it, I never even had a Mega Drive, but I remember playing that game when I was younger around friends' houses, and I was like, God, I need to get that game because there's a nostalgia touch to it, a bit like the mini versions of the classic consoles. Do you think there's as much an element now, because the graphics have pretty much gone really as far as they can without being real, that there's as much emphasis on that, and now it's more about the processing of the game, so it's quicker processing times and things like that?
I think so, because The positive, I think, with a lot of games now, because games are more. If you're someone who's inclined to make games, it's a lot more accessible now in terms of like different ways you can publish it yourself, different sort of software you can make it yourself. So there's quite a big sort of indie gamer scene in terms of games that just look cool, like cartoony or whatever, are really playable, like that Goose game, Untitled Goose game that came out recently. Visually, it's not the most amazing thing in the world. It's really nicely done, but what makes the game really fun is you're a goose and you can be mean to people. Is literally it. It's like and you steal a child's glasses and make them cry, and like all of this sort of stuff. Amazing game, but it doesn't need a PS5 to play it. You can happily play it on the Switch, which is very underpowered compared to the other consoles. It's brilliant. Yeah, absolutely.
Just finally on the consoles. I mean, you've seen both of them.
Yeah.
I assume. What are your thoughts on the designs? Because I mean, the PS5 for me, it's dividing me massively. I'm just not sure about it. I quite like the Xbox. I think the Xbox or the X Series, whatever it's called, looks neat. I think some people have compared it.
Angle.
Do you know what? But I quite like the simplicity of it. Although some people have compared it to an ashtray.
Yeah, exactly. It does look with an event on the top. And I quite like the fact that it's built for. It's just utility. It's got the vent in the top, so the hot air comes out. My Xbox One X that I've got, it's in a cabinet with a door that shuts, and if you turn it on and you start, because you can turn it on with a controller, you turn it on without thinking that, I've got to open the door. The thing, is dying. You can get all the cooling system kicks in, and just as it's trying to get all the hot air out because it overheats. It's quite a high spec thing, but in the Xbox, it's quite narrow. Like the new One X's and the One S's are quite narrow and small, and it's only got a certain amount of holes in it. So if it prevents that sort of thing, and with computers and things like that, the hotter they get, the worse they perform. They need to be cooled, and the more powerful they get, particularly if you think they're packing a sort of a mid-spec PC, which is normally in quite an airy box with fans, and it's lots of lovely air circulation, into something that's probably a third of the size.
Yeah.
Bigger struggle with that. So I quite like that they've just built it for utility. It's you're staring at the screen. You're not going to look at the thing. I know it has to look
but do you think
nice in your lounge to a certain extent?
Do you think the PS5 has more of a bit of an eyesore with its look? Because it is something that's going to. I find I'm looking at it and going, I'm just not sure about that design.
I think I said it. I don't know if I said it the other day. That if that thing came out, if you saw like a concept in that in about 2003, your mind would have been blown, and you would have thought that's the future. That's an incredible looking thing. Now, no, not all. I think we're past that sort of flashy look. It's just
no. You're right. You're spot on.
It's got to fit in your lounge and do what it's supposed to do, really, isn't it? But yeah, but some people love it. If you think again, comparing it to the PC market, the amount of people that absolutely love having a PC. We know, someone that has a PC, all the lights, as many lights as possible, everything's shining
liquid
and stuff.
Cooling and all that.
Lovely. Yeah, that's it. That's a whole thing in itself.
Yeah.
But it is very much a personal choice. But I have read a lot of things about the PS5 when they say they are planning on doing an all black thing. I think someone from Sony has said, like in comment, well, there's that one, but in the future there is going to be a black one. So the design of it all in black will probably look all right, won't it? But it's just the white that sort of shows it off a little bit or shows it up, depending on what way you look at it.
I agree.
Yeah.
The other thing I was going to say, while we've been on lockdown, I mean, everyone's been doing it, is binge watching things. Now, me and you could do a whole. We'll probably have to commit a whole another episode for some of the things we've watched and do reviews on all of that. But some of the great things that we've seen on Netflix and Amazon, Apple,
Last Dance.
The Last Dance on Netflix. Wow, what a
Yeah.
show!
And
What a show!
being someone who obviously knew who Michael Jordan was, and have enjoyed his trainers for many years. He's just an insight, and I guess for me, for someone who is not really into sport, like the psychology of sport and stuff like that, it's not anything that I've had access to or been exposed to in any way, just because I don't follow, a great deal of sport, and just getting an understanding of how that team mentality works and the coaching and his own sort of focus on the game and his motivation. That inspirational, absolutely inspirational.
And not just that, I know you from previous shows I remember watching the first couple of episodes and telling you they're kind of 50 minutes to an hour long episodes, and you've got 10 of them. I know that's a big commitment for you.
That's it. I'm out the door already.
And not just that, it's the funny thing is if you tell someone it's a documentary about a basketball team from the early to or mid 90s and their success, it's you kind of think, well, where's the story? But it did paint such a great story, having the individual kind of players, kind of stories and backgrounds. Michael Jordan's the constant theme throughout because it's more focused around him, I guess. But
it does highlight so many of the greats in that era as well. Even though it was all about him, I think the other names like Reggie Miller and Magic Johnson and all these people came up into the story.
Yeah,
fascinating, absolutely fascinating time.
Yeah, great show. And we also had, just to flip it on its head, Tiger King. Which seems like such a long time ago now.
That seems like years ago watching that.
Yeah, I mean, that was, if you wanted something that you thought was made up, that would be it.
Yeah, and something that made you want to, I don't know, either feel much better about yourself or lose faith in humanity. I think it's, it's they were just awful people.
I just felt it was so bonkers that you couldn't believe that it was true. It took the the believability out of it was just kind of thrown out the window because you just thought, how is this going on?
If you'd written a script and took that to someone and said, look, mate, this I think is going to be a really good story, and I think this is going to be believable. You think, really, But
these shows are the ones that, I mean, had we not been in lockdown, would I have probably committed the time to watch that? I think I probably would have looked the other way and found something else to watch. But I think what this has given us is an abundance of time to go, well, let's give this a crack, see what it's all about. And that literally, and that's one of the things that you always want from a series, is every time you finish an episode, you was like, I need to see the next one.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, the only thing I would say negative about it was they brought out a special, was it 8th? I can't remember how many episodes were even in it now, but they brought out like a one-off, which was what's happened since how it ended, which I'm sure most people know. What was his name? Something exotic. Joe Exotic. Yeah, when he got sent down to prison and he got sentenced. And it was what happened to the zoo after. And I was looking forward to watching this extra episode, and then all it was a Zoom call with this presenter who I didn't find that funny, but he tried to crack lots of jokes about things which I didn't think came off that well. And it really kind of left a bit of a bad taste in the mouth of the show. I think it took a lot of... and it kind of, oh, look, now I'm famous, that sort of approach, where I think none of this had been recorded over years. Through different people, and I think it got to that point where they all kind of were trying to ride off the fame of it, which, don't get me wrong, if you was in their shoes, you'd probably do exactly the same. But
and it was very clear watching it, all they were interested in was the money.
Of course, I mean, how ironic that the biggest star of the show is now in prison for 22 years or whatever, and probably won't see any of the fame of it. But
and even more ironic that, in the recent updates, that Carol Baskin now owns that zoo.
She does, I saw that on the news the other day. I mean, that's mad. But even talk about making it into kind of a dramatised version with actual actors or a movie.
Wasn't it Nicolas Cage who's going to play Joe Exotic? I think.
Oh, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Which
But
I'll watch.
it will go down as one of the highlights of the lockdown easily.
Yeah.
Easily.
Well, another one, which is not really not a specific show, but Disney Plus has happened in that time as well. Which what your
almost
thoughts?
like they timed it.
Yeah, exactly. No, you heard it here, folks.
Disney
created COVID-19. Yeah.
I mean, you and I have both got it. My
Disney
kid,
Plus, that is.
yeah,
Not,
Disney,
not,
not COVID-19.
19, yeah.
I hope I haven't.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, for my eldest, he absolutely loves it, and even for us as adults, as grown men, there's stuff on there for everyone. I mean, I've watched some great movies on there. You've got all the Star Wars films, all the Marvel, but not just that, just so many series of things. Like you've got all Simpsons on there. I mean, I know we've covered Disney Plus in the past, but that was a long time ago, and now we've actually got it, so we know what it's actually all about now, and it's been amazing.
It is absolutely incredible. I think out of all the streaming services, the value that it brings is just unparalleled. Really, we're so many different aspects of it. Like you said, watching the Marvel films, they're all there, and the Star Wars films, they're all there. But there've been so many different experiences with it. Like you mentioned, The Simpsons. I've watched The Simpsons in the past, but sort of not really kept up with it. My oldest now, he never seen The Simpsons, so we've been sitting there watching it together and sort of reliving those, like starting from season one and watching through those. It opens my eyes, but to the Simpsons particularly, it's a very clever series because on the surface it's comedy, but at its core it isn't. And the things they're talking about, and I think watching it now as a parent, seeing the relationship between Bart and Homer and Marge and the different storylines, you look at it in a completely different way, or certainly that's what I'm finding. You're looking at it in a relatable way of thinking, oh God, yeah, I remember that sort of scenario, like as a child and as a parent. It's very, very clever.
But do you know what's funny when you say that? Even some of the classic Disney films, there are little nods to the adult viewers that we wouldn't have seen as children, know. And the funny thing is, I'm showing my eldest all these classic Disney films that I would have watched when I was his age, and now I'm noticing gags, and I'm thinking I wouldn't have spotted that before.
Oh, exactly.
You know what I mean? And it's very clever how they kind of managed to get away with some of the things that they did.
It just goes over their heads.
Yeah. But I mean, that's sorry, just to say that's streaming services throughout all of this. I mean, their sales and subscriptions must have gone through the roof because I think they've been a godsend.
And it's I was having a conversation earlier. I think there were things that have happened that, like within this short period of time, that may have been 5 years off, may have been 10 years off, that have now been accelerated because of the circumstances we're in now. Streaming incredibly popular and so on, but now, why would you even think about buying a DVD? Like from a Disney point of view and things like that. Yeah, you may have sort of seen one cheap in the supermarket and thought, oh, that's good for to watch with the kids or whatever. It's all there on Disney Plus now, and these sort of things are now the absolute norm. They were nearly there before, but now it's there. It's solidified. That's how our lives are now. Which I think is great for something like Disney Plus. I think has done when they have such a huge catalogue of material. They've done really what no other service can do. With like Netflix and Amazon are getting there with their own original stuff. And they're building it up, but they still have the licensings and they still rotate the films and things like that. For a company like Disney to be able to literally stick everything they've ever made there, and it's there. And it's amazing. There's so many films that we've watched didn't even exist, didn't even know what they were. Things like weird little things like trying to encourage the kids to watch different programs other than like they're well into binge watching and will watch 3 seasons of the same thing.
Yeah.
Like discovering things like Doug, which
Oh,
is
Doug, yeah.
I
I
never
used to
watched
watch
Doug,
Doug.
never
Yeah.
seen it before until watching that, and absolutely loving it. You know,
But that's one of the. I mean, when you think Disney managed to just purchase certain companies like Marvel, like Star
yeah.
Wars, so Lucasfilm, Doug, I'm pretty sure was Nickelodeon or something like that. And
Well,
if they've just
apparently it
managed to
was.
purchase that,
But me being the anorak that I am, I'd look into these things. The Doug that's on there is the one that Disney made. But prior
right?
to that, they had about 3 seasons of it that I think was on Nickelodeon,
Yeah.
which is separate as such.
Okay.
But I've not seen those. I've only seen the ones on Disney Plus. But brilliant.
But there are so many films on there that I never even knew were Disney. Like I watched Cool. One of the first things I watched was Cool Runnings. I never even knew that was Disney.
Really?
Or a sub company which Disney have then purchased. But
Is it right that they? I think is it Buena Vista or something was
that's it.
Disney's. I think that was Disney's either their distribution company for films or their sort of more grown-up films or something like that. I think that's maybe how it fits in.
Yeah. But you got all the Muppets on there and things like that. Christmas Carol. I mean, that was a great film. I remember watching that as a kid. But it's do you know what? Like you say, there's so much that they've been able to just go bang, stick it on. It's not even in phases. I think the only thing they've done in phases was the Mandalorian when they stuck that on an episode a week or whatever. Well, enough about Disney. We'll carry on watching. That's what we'll do. Same with all the others.
And I would say that the final word on Disney, though, this week they put a film on there, Artemis Fowl.
Yes.
They're putting out their own, obviously it's all their own content, but new sort of exclusive content. Amazing. So they're clearly, they're relying on their back catalogue, but they're still investing quite a lot into the new stuff, which again is brilliant. But yeah.
I agree. There's only so much of the old stuff that you can rely on.
Yeah.
It's not going to get repeat watches all the time, I guess.
No, exactly.
So to add new stuff is always it, because there's obviously different ages that are watching. But yeah. Well, I think that wraps up today's comeback, as we'll call it. We will try and get other people on, I hope. Like the last episode, which we strongly said we would try and do. But I know several people who do want to get on and have actually been asking me several times. We are back, and we will try and get at least one a week, I reckon.
Yeah, I think
if we can.
Or I think the thing we should commit to more than anything is we actually do one a week. Let's not get ahead of ourselves with the guests. We will do one podcast a week, and see who wants to join us.
Anyway,
cool.
That's enough from us, and we'll speak to you again soon.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening. Transmission over.